Welcome everyone to the 2015 Brickyard 400 at Indianapolis Race Reveal. Well, actually, it was called the official title was actually called the Crown Royal presents the Jeff Kyle 400, but I always call it the Brickyard, and I always will. I really wish that it was just called the Brickyard 400. Like I wish that they had never had changed the title of it. And anyway, so this was, I believe, race number 20 of 36. It is the first and only time we head to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And right here in the description, the first opening sentence is, despite the quality of the race not matching up to the hype or prestige of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, it is considered to be one of NASCAR's crown jewels. And, and NASCAR and some fans would agree with that. And this is definitely a big race for the drivers and the teams. Some say that other than the Daytona 500, this is a race they bring their best equipment. And some people actually, and some drivers and teams, I think, say that this race is actually bigger than the Daytona 500. For me personally, I never really quite understand NASCAR racing at the Brickyard and why it's so big, and in this case, so prestige. I just don't, and I think the reason why is because I'm all about the quality of racing, not because to me, I think that I'm not really that huge a fan of how about how like the media, as I have in the description, sort of like hypes this event up and tells everyone about the and kind of tells in some media reporters or websites or whatever, such as NASCAR likes to heavily promote this race and talk about how, and I think sometimes it talk about how spectacular or just stuff along those lines, but really the quality of the racing has it doesn't, and I don't think it never has, and I think that it never will really ever match up to the hype and prestige, just because, well, actually, I'll get into why I think that a bit later, but to me, that's what kind of annoys me every single time we come here. But for me personally, on this race, it was, to me, even though there were some stats that I was not happy to read about, I felt like that I was more entertained, and maybe that was because towards the late stages of the race, there was more there were more restarts, which bunch of the field, and with the certain high drag package, it did create for a little bit of racing impacts, and I was honestly kind of surprised that we did not have a massive big one, because of some of the racing we saw on the restarts. And anyway, that stat was the passing, the green flag passes, and etc. And for those that did not know, so a couple weeks ago, NASCAR announced that were announced more packages for some events. One of those events being Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and it was called the hot, and they called it the high drag package. And what this high drag package does is that it creates more drag, and it has some things like rear fascia and other things that are more similar to a super speedway car, and I had a wicker bill, which I believe wicker bills haven't been used in years, maybe more than a decade. And basically, more drag. It allows for this bigger. It creates a pocket of air of where a driver can catch up to another driver, and hopefully, what NASCAR hope for is that it sort of creates for more passing and just more racing impacts. In fact, Brian France made a statement, I think last week, before New Hampshire, saying that he wants like pack racing at many tracks. And I felt like that with this package, I think, to me, it kind of created that. Like, I think to me, I think that I did see more packs, and it did look a little, and it popped, and I think that it might have looked through what I can remember, it looked easier for drivers to catch up to each other. But to me, catching them is one thing, passing them is differently. And the stat that I unfortunately have to tell you, in case you didn't know, I'm reading this off of the NASCAR Talk NBCSports.com article. The stats showed that there were a total of 2,740 green flag passes, which was 587 fewer passes than last year's race. And I think that and when I look right here, today's the amount of lead changes today, I think tied in 2011 as second fewest lead changes, and that was at least one more than last season, but as you can see, it was still incredibly low, or I think that's actually around like the average. So overall, the package I felt like didn't really meet or exceeded what NASCAR had expected, and I kind of felt like that, especially after Kentucky, where Kentucky had were like for those who did not know or forgot, Kentucky was 2 weeks ago, and that race had a low downforce package, so it was a different package than Indianapolis. And trying to think here, that race compared to last year's race, it had more than double the amount of green flag passes throughout the whole entire field, and there was also a new track record for lead changes, a couple more than the most, which was back in 2011. So to me, even though Indianapolis and Kentucky are two totally different racetracks, I think that we should, in the future, try to we should just keep on taking away downforce. But I'm not completely ready to jump a bandwagon, and here's why. Indianapolis Motor Speedway, watching races from back then and now, pretty much always has been, and probably always will be for as long as NASCAR races here. It's pretty much a one groove racetrack, and to me, like, you just have you have long straightaways, and then you have small corners, and in the world of NASCAR and for these stock cars, that's just not apparently the perfect combination. So to me, I think that's why there's one group. But to me, like, the straightaways are ranked at 0 degrees, the corners are ranked at 9 degrees, I believe. And so to me, not having a high banking doesn't, I guess, create enough speed or momentum to get side by side and trying to make the outside work. And I think that, to me, like the layout at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, I think it's been like that since day one. So I feel like that we shouldn't change the layout just to create more passing for NASCAR, because I mean, NASCAR is not the only event at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Obviously we have the Indianapolis 500. We have a couple of other events, and to me, I think that I think a change in the layout might actually really hurt IndyCars there as well. And I feel like that we should never ever try to screw up the Indianapolis 500, which I think that so obviously it's a one groove racetrack, and the thing is, it's a one groove racetrack for IndyCars as well. But here's the difference: the way these stock cars are, it does not allow for that. Oh, I'll pass you back. Like to me, that's what, like, the past several years of me watching IndyCar, that's what I can remember, such as this year's Indianapolis 500, where if we had a lead change between two drivers, the leader wasn't really able to pull away. The car in second that just got passed would actually be able to go right back up to the leader. And I think in that case, the leaders swap back and forth several times throughout the entire 200 laps. And it's not just the top two drivers; it's pretty much the entire field, through what I can remember. And plus, there's just simply something about those Indy cars going at 220 plus miles per hour that I think also makes it just more exciting. And to me, I think that's I think that's what makes the Indianapolis 500 great, is how it has, to me, great racing. NASCAR not so much. And to me, I never really ever liked the idea of just an event being so special because it's just because of the racetrack. I think that if we're gonna hype and promote, like, if we're gonna like hype and heavily promote races, let's do that for its action, not because special Brickyard race because it's the Brickyard. Because to me, that's personally why I think NASCAR continues to come back to the Brickyard despite sluggish attendance. Like Indianapolis Motor Speedway, I think it has about 2,300 and 300, not 2,000, 235,000 grandstand seats along the outside and on the inside on the front stretch, and when you take all of the infield seating, I think it adds up to close to like 400,000. That crowd had to be about like half or maybe less than half. And the thing is, like I'm sure that many would say that at the tire fiasco in 2008, where we had so many tire problems, and I guess we had competition cautions every 10 to 15 laps, really ruined the racing. But to me, attendance was already going down before there. Like I think like the last packed Brickyard 400 was, I think, 2005 or 2006. So to me, I just feel like that. I just feel like that while other tracks, if attendance, I just think that if that was the attendance at other tracks, we would be it would be a lot like Rockingham or Darlington losing 2 dates. But to me, I feel like that we're going to the Brickyard because of the Brickyard. Like to me, like I think that it probably would be a big loss to NASCAR if we did stop racing at the Brickyard. But to me, it's just like, well, in this case, I think that money needs to talk. If the Brickyard is not selling, if the Brickyard is not selling, to me, I just think that we can't go there. And I feel like if this continues, I can picture sometime within the next 5-10 years, the Brickyard will be gone, unless some improvements are made, which I don't know if some improvements are even possible, such as better racing. But that's just my opinion. And actually, I still feel like that even though I was entertained, I would still probably put the Brickyard as the worst track NASCAR goes to, my least favorite race, and sort of number one on if there was, like, if you ask me like what is one racetrack that they would like to see completely gone, I would probably say Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I know that's probably not a very popular decision, but I would do it anyway. And if there was one track that I would like to see one of its 2 dates be removed, that would be Texas. But anyway, I guess now enough about the race. Enough about my thoughts. Let me get into what happened during the previous show. So I mentioned the high drag package, and here is a more specific detail about this. So it had a 9-inch spoiler, which is 3 inches taller than the spoiler they've used on most of the races, which is 6 inches. And actually, the 9-inch spoiler is actually 1 inch taller than last year's Brickyard 400, which was 8 inches. But what made it even taller was a 1-inch wicker bill. And the wicker bill, it was put on the spoiler, whereas over a decade ago it was put on the roof. And I guess that decision was made to balance out the drag or downforce. And there was a 43-inch. I think it was a 43-inch radiator pan, which is 5 inches more than the regular package, which is 38 inches. And I mentioned a similar body style to. And I mentioned a body style similar to Stewart Speedways. And I already said that the NASCAR hopes that this creates more drafting and pack like racing, and just overall just better racing. And also, with there being more drag, speeds could be off by 10 to 15 miles. not 15 miles, 10 to 5 miles, my bad. And that's pretty much all I got to say about the package. NASCAR, I think, has yet to make a statement onto the package, but to me, okay, fine. I might as well actually get this out of the way because I forgot. So obviously, I think many fans looking at the stats are not about the pauses. I'm pretty sure that even though I'm not seeing like the reaction, I'm pretty sure it's a lot of criticism and a whole bunch of other stuff. But to me, I feel like that for those that are going to say NASCAR screwed up once again, or we need new leadership, or even to the people who praised the package, saying that it was great racing. What I would say to them is that NASCAR is trying to make the racing better, whether you agree or not. Because to me, like NASCAR realizes that there's a problem, and we need to solve it. And obviously, there are so many like variables and questions. I don't really think that there is exactly like a clear answer or just like a clear person, to blame or whatever. So I'm just gonna say that. And what I would tell them is that wait for Michigan. I think Michigan is gonna be a much more better place to see what this package is capable of. And to me, I think that we all should applaud NASCAR for at least trying to make a change. Because to me, you don't make better racing by just doing nothing. You have to at least try something and hope that you have good racing. And to me, sometimes it's gonna work, sometimes it doesn't. And if it doesn't work, you learn from those mistakes, just like you would do in your life. I'm sure that we've all made mistakes, and then we learn from them, so that way we don't do that again. And to me, I think that what NASCAR is going to do is that they're going to see the stats and probably say, "Ooh, that is not what we like to see." And then they're going to be like, "Okay, we're not going to bring this package back to Indianapolis, or we're never going to ever use this package again." And for me, what I would like this, and to me, like probably my dream of what I hope NASCAR says by the time like the fall rolls around is like something that is like to me, what I hope NASCAR says before next season is like, okay, here is our 2016 rules package. Our 2016 rules package is a 2-inch spoiler, no splitter, maybe totally do away with the splitter if we're going to try to promote race on Sunday, sell on wait a second. No, wait, I was right. Race on Sunday, sell on Monday. If you're going to try to promote that, well, then totally get rid of the splitter. And personally, I've never ever liked the splitter anyway. And if the splitter is what is creating downforce, then we should just get rid of it. And maybe a shorter, and maybe an even shorter radiator pan, and just anything else you have to do to balance the car out and just overall take away a lot of downforce, because I think that low downforce is the way to go. And I think that's what many drivers would like, and etc. And actually, many drivers, some drivers like Kenseth, Larson, and Keselowski, and Kyle Busch really voiced their anger towards it. And Hamlin was actually the one who said that the package is more. Hamlin thinks that the high drag package is gonna be much better at Michigan. But anyway, that is pretty much all I have to say about the package. So anyway, now on to other stuff. We could see French Royal Racing, which Warren Truex Jr. currently drives for the team, in a Toyota by 2017. TRD, Toyota Racing Development, is looking to expand, and French Royal Racing has said in the past, and I think I've said on this show before, about saying that they feel like they're not getting the support, and they're looking to go to Toyota. And to me, I feel like that I have this like feeling that this probably like will happen. The only concern though is like, well, will this help or hurt the team? Like, will like going to Toyota hurt them in the long run? Because to me, like currently, like in NASCAR, it just seems like that Chevrolet, and it's been like this for several years. Chevrolet just always seems to have the advantage. always. I think it's been like that for over for over the past decade in NASCAR. It to me, and so that's why, and so that's probably why it's my. So I think that's why it's my biggest concern. But nevertheless, I still will continue to support it. And unlike some Toyota haters out there in the NASCAR world, I do. It does not change my opinion on Martin Truex Jr. and Fernando Racing. It would be the first time though that it would be the first time that the team did change manufacturers, because ever since the team was created back in 2005, it's always racing Chevys. And also some warnings were given out to Paul Menard, Clint Bowyer, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, and Eddie McDonald, and Eddie McDonald for failing pre-qualifying inspection. Ryan Blaney and the Wood Brothers actually failed it twice, and obviously if one of these teams and if one of these teams gets another warning after Indianapolis, it could result in a P1 penalty, which a P1 penalty, reduction in practice time, maybe last selection pit stall. It can be a variety of reasons that they could probably find yourself. And one team that doesn't have to worry about this is Eddie McDonald, because Eddie McDonald, I believe, only runs the New Hampshire races because I guess he's a native, I believe. But and anyway, also another thing that was a hot topic after New Hampshire, or sort of a hot topic, was because it brought out caution at New Hampshire, was NASCAR. I think is going to talk to drivers and teams about water bottles left on the racetrack, and some drivers, and I think drivers like Jimmy Johnson said that NASCAR shouldn't throw a debris caution for water ball in the first place. Other teams say that. I think our teams. I think our teams had different reasons. I know that Kenny Wallace said something like, "Well, we've all done it." You know, personally, when it comes to this role, part of me kind of does agree with Jimmy Johnson in some way, saying like, well, because here's the thing, how does a water bottle really affect someone's day? Like, to me, it's not like a piece of metal that could cut a tire, you know. So to me, that's what I wonder about it. But I have a feeling that maybe heading into 2016, we could see a rule change like that. So sort of like how entering the season NASCAR said, okay, no more flaring with the side skirts. And also, I guess, more additional information about this package. We could see multiple tire and engine failures that could happen, because if you remember the 2008 Brickyard 400, it was the tire that could do raw. It was the tire that could do raw, but it was also the new COT car that caused the tire fiasco in 2008. But to me, I didn't really see any tire failures by themselves. And we also could see engine failures, because to me, I guess the drag package now allows everyone to stay to go around the racetrack full throttle or almost full throttle. But to me, I don't recall seeing any engine failures either. And anyway, on to the race weekend. Oh wait a second, I also forgot to say that the taller spoiler also created visibility issues. Joe Logano was very vocal about that. Joe Logano was probably the most vocal about it. But anyway, so let's get into practice sessions. Denny Hamlin won the first practice, and then he was followed by Johnson, Harvick, Gordon, Stewart, Kenseth, Dale Jr., Jamie McMurray, Kurt Busch, and Martin Truex Jr. And then, most notably, Jimmy Johnson early in the session had some trouble firing the car, and actually had to get a push from Tony Stewart back to the garage. And apparently, I guess it was a broken fuel cell or something like that. And the second practice, Dale Earnhardt Jr. was fastest in practice number 2, and he was followed by Keselowski, Kane, Larson, Boyer, Gordon, Truex, Reagan, Ryan Blaney, and Daniel McMurray. And this practice session was actually a bit more eventful with Hamlin's apparently, I guess, I forget what it's called, but I guess it's the thing that attaches the hood and keeps the hood on. Apparently, those things were not adjusted right, or they were out there. And so what happened was that when Hamlin got back onto the racetrack, the hood actually came apart, and there were parts of it on the racetrack, parts of it landed on Denny Hamlin's windshield. But the team repaired the car, so no backup car, but actually the hood from the back of the car was actually put it was put over the engine to basically replace the broken hood, and also and then the first of two problems for Timmy Hill, who replaced Josh Wise after Josh Wise said before New Hampshire that he left the team because he felt like that Josh Wise and Premium Motorsports did not share the same goals. Timmy Hill, I guess Tungsten. I guess a Tungsten. I think it's how you say it. Was found near pit road, and it came off of Timmy Hill's car. And for those that have been following the Xfinity series, that's happened 2 times already this season, I believe. First at Iowa, and then at Dover, I believe. But this is the first time I can recall this happening this season in the Sprint Cup series. And in the Xfinity series, the teams that had the Tungsten fall off, they were given, I think, a P3 penalty, which I think caused a reduction in owners points and a pretty big fine. So I have a feeling that we could probably see that from Timmy Hill in Premium Motorsports, and so that is what happened in the second practice session, and then in the third and final practice session of the day, Kurt Busch wins the final practice, and then is followed by Harvick, Larson, Johnson, Truex Jr., Kyle Busch, Carl Edwards, Casey Kane, Austin Dillon, and Tony Stewart. And then more problems for Timmy Hill when he spun out of turn number 4 all by himself, hits the inside wall with the front of his car. And so then they have to go to a backup car. And to me, this was kind of a story that I wish that NBC would have talked about in the race, like, because to me, like Timmy Hill was interviewed about about how this does set the team back. But to me, I wish that one thing that I wish that NBC could do better is I think I wish NBC could sort of tap into the story about how. Could sort of tap into the topic about how difficult it is for underfunded teams and for drivers like Timmy Hill, for when that happens to you. I wish that NBC would have done that. And the thing is, I feel like they haven't really done that really ever since the coverage started. And I hope that in the future they do show. They do show and talk more about sort of these talk more about these unidentified teams and drivers and the struggles or what it means if they get a good finish, etc. And now on to qualifying, which was the next day on Saturday. Carl Edwards scores his second consecutive pole, which he got the pole at New Hampshire last week, and he was followed by Joe Logano, David Reagan, Tony Stewart, Kyle Larson, Kevin Harvick, Clint Boyer, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Kyle Busch, Danny McMurray, Paul Menard, and Jimmy Johnson. And the second to final highlight that I have before I took over the race, dehydration and exhaustion were issues in the race last week at New Hampshire, and they were also a pretty big issue in the Xfinity race yesterday. A couple drivers, Elliott Sadler, Ty Dillon, and even race winner Kyle Busch, all looked very exhausted and just dehydrated and needed a lot of fluid. And apparently, this high drag package, which a very similar version was used in the Xfinity race, I guess it cuts off air, and so less cool air gets inside the car. In fact, even in today's Cup race, they actually had a camera inside Casey's mirror car, and I don't know whether this was NBC or Germain Racing, but they actually had a little thermometer inside the car, and I think that it got up to 144 degrees. So very hot temperature inside the car, which will explain why some of the drivers were exhausted. Now, I have not heard a single driver or team report about hydration and exhaustion after today's race. So maybe when many of these drivers and teams, which some of them ran double duty, saw or experienced the dehydration and exhaustion, they prepared a lot more better for the Sprint Cup race. And also, the last thing I have to say is the concern of rain in the area actually moved the start time up by 10 minutes. But overall, the race started almost 3 hours later than what the race started last season. And apparently the reason was is because NBC Sports wanted to get in the entire Tour de France broadcast on Sunday, and then air the NASCAR race. And to me, my only concern with this is that yes, there was a concern of rain, but there was a concern of rain, and I have to say I kind of felt like the NASCAR and IMS got lucky on this one. But to me, I hope that we don't run into many situations where, because of starting the race like hours later, we get ourselves into rain delays, or at some tracks like Indianapolis or Pocono, which is next week, we don't the race does not get shortened due to darkness. So to me, I hope, and to me, I believe that generally races in the second half of the season generally start later in the day. But to me, I still kind of find it maybe a little ridiculous to start a race, especially the Brickyard 400 almost 3 hours later. And to me, I felt like that, like watching the race. I think that even though it was overcast, there was sort of this feeling about how, to me, there was this feeling about how it was like once the race started, it kind of felt more like the end of the race based on all of the previous races. Based on all of the previous races, and honestly, I kind of don't really recall the racetrack having so much like shade and and etc. But anyway, so here we go, coming out of turn number 4, and Carl Edwards and Joe Logano lead us to the green flag. Logano chooses the inside. Logano chooses the outside. And Logano, who started second, was actually able to take the lead away from Carl Edwards, coming out of turn number 2. And then from there, the whole field pretty much got single file. Carl Edwards was actually able to reel in Joe Logano, and then Carl Edwards was able to take the lead on lap 13. But I think what caused that was because Logano got some trash on the grill, and so basically he had to give up the lead and then get right behind Carl Edwards. And then Carl Edwards, he would be able to hold on to the lead. He would be able to hold on to the lead. But one thing that I did kind of like about the new hydraulic package is how it wasn't as easy for the leader to just break away from everyone else. So to me, if there was anything good that came out of this hydraulic package, it was that the aero push was not exactly as effective, but passing was still really difficult to pass, which would explain why passing was down. But anyway, we also saw a very impressive run from Tony Stewart, who qualified 4th and was running inside the top 5. And overall, he was having such a great day for a driver that has really been kind of like a 25th place car almost all season long. I mean, only one top 10, and even though he did not finish where I think he deserved or where he should have finished, it was still just overall a very strong performance for Tony Stewart. And then actually there were actually a couple of tire problems, and the first of them was AJ Allmendinger pitting on lap number 17, and so he goes down a lap. And then by lap 20, Carl Edwards has a 1.5 second lead, and Kevin Harvick moves into second. And lap traffic actually started getting in the way, and I think that there was this one moment where the wait a second, that was actually much more later in the race. So okay, anyway, sorry, I lost track. So on lap number 28, Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick were the first takers to head to pit road, and this basically started a cycle of some green flag pit stops, and there were a couple of penalties. Alex Bowman, Austin Dillon, and Charbane were too fast off the road, and then by the time the cycle was over, because Harvick pitted, I think, a lap or a couple laps before Carl Edwards, it allowed him to get the lead, and then Carl Edwards would have a difficult time chasing down Kevin Harvick. He did almost get by Harvick on lap number 41 when lap traffic got in the way of Kevin Harvick, but Harvick was still able to hold on to the lead. And if you can hear noises in the background, I'm sorry. So then Harvick started to pull away, and after 44 laps of no cautions, we got our first caution of the day. Caution number 1 for this is really a strange and kind of a, I would say maybe a controversial caution, and it was when, so I guess I should give a little backstory on this. So in the previous ceremonies, hundreds or thousands of balloons were released into the sky, and apparently some of those balloons came back down onto the racetrack, and one balloon got up into the fence. And to me, this is I think the reason why this is controversial is because I think just like the water balls, just like the water ball precaution, how much is a balloon going to affect a car? I mean, I guess that if it hits the grill, I guess it could pop it, and maybe the force could maybe break the grill, or actually get stuck on the grill. Once again, I don't completely understand the reason for throwing a caution after that. But I guess that in some ways I kind of need a caution, because I guess I was just kind of, I wouldn't say I was getting bored, but I was just kind of not like feeling almost like anything. But anyway, lap number 46, pit stops. Carl Edwards, Kyle Busch, Warren Truex Jr., Kyle Larson, Matt Kenseth, Clint Bowyer, Kevin Harvick, Tony Stewart, Brett Keselowski, and Jeff Gordon. The top 6 took 2 tires. Then on lap 49, I found out that there were 5 drivers who stayed out: Joe Logano, David Reagan, Jimmy Johnson, Denny Hamlin, and Kurt Busch. Restart lap 50, and this was to me the first of what would be several pretty crazy restarts. And exiting turn number 2, they were all over the place. It definitely reminded me a little bit of like Daytona and Talladega, but I think that what makes the racing we saw at Daytona and Talladega different than today's race at Indianapolis was how at Daytona and Talladega, if we have like a pack, they all stay together, they all stay in the lanes. But at Indianapolis, it's like they're changing lanes every like 5 seconds, you know. And then this would create, and this would lead to our second caution of the day, and that is when Clint Bowyer and Kevin Harvick into the top 10. Clint Bowyer gets loose under Harvick, slides up into him. Harvick stays in the car. Clint Bowyer does not. Clint Bowyer spins down to the inside. Jeff Gordon and Casey Kane are battling. Casey Kane comes down Jeff Gordon. Jeff Gordon loses it, does not want to hit Bowyer, turns back to the right, hits the outside wall with the front and rear of his car. Clint Bowyer gets no damage. Jeff Gordon does get damage, and then this is pretty much ruined Jeff Gordon's day and really made it a pretty miserable Brickyard 400 for a driver that has won 5 races, and with this being his final full season, this would make it his final Brickyard 400. And to me, even though I'm not a Gordon fan, it was just pretty sad to see. And so now restart lap 55 with Julia on the outside, and pretty much this would I think that most of the restarts the lead car chose the outside, but that would not be the case on the final restart, I believe. So on the final restart, Logano leads, and Matt Kenseth and I think a few others who were on a different strategy decided to pit, and that will lead to Denny Hamlin, Jimmy Johnson, Kurt Kyle, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. And the pretty much more drivers. Kevin Harvick stays out though, along with Tony Stewart and a few others. And I actually wrote on lap 68 a couple of the surprises that I saw in the top 10, even though there was different strategy. It was kind of cool for me to see Dan Kirkpatrick, Eric Almirola, Greg Biffle, Chase Elliott, and Casey Mears all running inside the top 10. And then lap number 71, Kevin Harvick, I think, pulled out to the biggest lead. And I think that this was possibly the biggest lead we saw all race long. With, I think that at one point it was like a 5.1 second lead, I believe. And lap number 78, I was kind of surprised that this didn't bring out a caution, and that was when Alex Bowman's car started smoking from the tailpipes. And to me, what I thought what happened was that fluid was escaping, and the thing is, watching it on television, I think that he went around the whole entire racetrack. He went around the whole entire racetrack smoking, and yet NASCAR did not throw out the caution. So I don't really know what exactly happened to Alex Bowman, but it was just kind of strange. And if you remember, Alex Bowman had a pretty eventful day last week at New Hampshire, first having a fire. And then as they ended with him hitting the wall and ending the race under caution. And then around lap 83, pretty much the rest of the field makes the pit stop, starting with Greg Biffle, Dan Kirkpatrick, and then after this cycle, the new top 5 was Kyle Busch, Matt Kenseth, Martin Truex Jr., Kevin Harvick, and Joey Logano. And then Matt Kenseth and Martin Truex Jr. make their pit stops, and then caution number 3 for debris on the front stretch, and then Kyle Busch was actually about ready to come down pit road, and he chose not to, because that would help him maintain his track position, but also if he came down pit road, he would have gotten a penalty, because pit road closed just before he went down pit road and decided against it. And so anyway, one lap later, stops were made. The top 10 exiting pit road: Tony Stewart, Kyle Larson, Kyle Busch, Joe Logano, Dan Kirkpatrick, Casey Kane, Denny Hamlin, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and David Reagan and Ryan Newman. And overall, this time it was I think like half of the field took 2 tires, and half of the field took 4 tires. Anyway, on to my next page of notes. Restart lap 97 as the top 5 stayed out: Harvick, Keselowski, Kenseth, Edwards, and Johnson. And then actually, Brett Keselowski, he did not get off turn number 1 that well at all. And actually, it caused Jimmy Johnson to actually go onto the apron. And I thought, watching that live, I thought Johnson was actually going to crash and take out a bunch of others, but that did not happen. And by lap 104, there was already a lot of talk about drivers trying to save enough fuel to make it on just one more stop. Then we had a 4th caution a couple laps later on lap 107. Eric Almirola spins off turn number 2 all by himself and hits the inside wall. Not super hard, but decent lick. And by lap 108, even more strategy. And even though they did not tell exactly who did. Even though they didn't tell everyone who came down pit road and who stayed out, but it looked like half of the field came down pit road and the other half stayed out. Restart up 112. Casey Kane clips the grass on the backstretch, trying to make it 4 wide. Lap 114. Kyle Busch, who had fresher tires, and so he was one of the main takers down pit road. He was using those fresher tires to his advantage. And pretty much every time there was a restart, it felt like that maybe because it was harder to pass, drivers were really being very aggressive for every single spot they can take. And then once again, Joe Logano has trash on the grill, and I think that he was in 2nd place. Yeah, yes, he was, because Harvick continued to lead, and at this point, it looked like that Harvick was just going to sail on his way to getting his third career victory, and but then once again another interruption. Caution number 5. Brian Scott first gets loose coming off of turn number 2, hits the outside wall pretty good. Then coming down the backstretch into turn 3 and 4, the tire is just coming apart, and then smacks the outside wall, exiting turn number 3. This would definitely bring out a caution, and then and then we had some interesting strategy. So we have pit stops: Kyle Busch, Mark Truex Jr., Dan Patrick, Carl Edwards, Joey Logano, Kevin Harvick, Danny Hamlin, Kyle Larson, Matt Kenseth, and Clint Bowyer. The first 3 drivers took 2 tires, and then in the top 4, on the restart stayed out. David Reagan, Brad Keselowski, Tony Stewart, and Kasey Kahne did not pit. And at this point in the race, no one can make it on fuel unless they save fuel. Restart lap 125. David Reagan David Reagan chooses the outside and is able to take the lead away from Keselowski. And actually, Tony Stewart actually almost made it 3 wide entering turn 1. And when I think about it, if he did make it 3 wide, that could have been very disastrous. So David Reagan was able to hold on to his lead, and now lap 127, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. actually hits the wall, and his tires were smoking, but no caution. Kasey Kahne comes down pit road, and then later, David Reagan and Tony Stewart would come down pit road. Brad Keselowski continues to lead. And then caution number 6 on lap 141, debris from Trevor Bayne and Eric Almirola, and basically coming out of turn 4, both of them got into a feud. It was like this. I don't really know the full story, and I have a feeling that tomorrow they could release more information. But to me, it was just kind of like interesting. I don't really think that like this season we really seen a whole lot of like drivers trying to actually kind of like take each other out, or just like trying to like wreck each other, and at the same time they continue to wreck. I believe the only other time I've seen that season in this pickup series is Joey Logano and Kevin Harvick in the Sprint Unlimited, as far as my memory serves. And then lap 142, Brad Keselowski, who had now made a pit stop, and there was no way he could make it on fuel, regardless of how much he saved, pits, and now our leader is now Kevin Harvick, with Carl Edwards, Kyle Busch, and Martin Truex Jr. right behind him. Restart lap 147. Carl Edwards got loose under Joey Logano, and then he fell outside, and then he dropped all the way back to the outside of the top 10. But then 1 lap later, caution number 7, Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Kasey Kahne in the middle of the field. I think Jr. was trying to clear Kasey Kahne, but there wasn't enough room. Dale Earnhardt Jr. First spins into the Access Road grass, and then just slightly in the back into the outside wall, but not like that hard of a lick. And they call Edwards, Tony Stewart, and a few others come down to the road, and I kind of felt like that it was during this time, and Jeff Burton and Steve Letarte in the ABC Sports booth did pick it up, that they did find it kind of a little interesting that drivers like Tony Stewart didn't like stayed out when they had enough fuel. It might explain why Tony Stewart was able to finish 28th when he could have finished inside the top 5 or top 10. But anyway, restart on lap 153. Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick get takes the first two to receive the green flag. Kevin Harvick, I think A, does not get a good restart, and B, he had Denny Hamlin all over. He had Denny Hamlin behind him, just trying to get Kevin Harvick going, but they got even more sideways, and allowed for Kyle Busch to take away the lead. And Harvick moves into second, or actually. No. It was not this restart. It was actually the next restart. Looking down at my notes. Sorry. So I think what happened was that Harvick chose the outside, which on every single restart, with the exception of the start of the race, it worked out. But I think at Kyle Busch, it was like this. When you restart double file, the first row is kind of sharing the clean air. Harvick has clean air. Kyle Busch has clean air. And to me, I think that because Kyle Busch had, and I guess looking at it, and I guess when I think about it, maybe Kyle Busch had a better car than Kevin Harvick. He just needed the clean air, and because he had part of that clean air, and probably a restart, it allowed Kyle Busch to get the lead, and then 2 laps later, caution number 8 for debris from Casey Mears, and earlier in the race. Casey Mears and I think it was Casey Mears and Michael McDowell got together, which caused damage on the front end of Casey Mears, and then I guess like tape or something came off of the car, which then brought the caution. And then one restart, lap 159. Kyle Busch leads. He restarts on the inside. Harvick restarts on the outside, and I think Harvick spun his tires, and Denny Hamlin was all over the back of him, and allowed Kyle Busch to easily take away the lead. And also Kyle Busch, he had one hell of a shove from Logano, and actually Logano was going to the outside of him, couldn't make the pass, but then once again on turn 1, Trevor Bayne, I think it was contact between Trevor Bayne and Brett Moffitt. Trevor Bayne spins it in turn 1, backs it into the outside wall, and then we have another caution. And so this sets us up for a green-white checkered, and this is our first green-white checkered at the Brickyard since 2004, which I think was the first year in the Sprint Cup Series to have a green-white checkered, I believe. So green-white checkered. Attempt number 1, Kyle Busch, Joe Logano side by side. Kyle Busch easily takes the lead away from Logano. Logano chases him down the backstretch, and it looked like that maybe if Logano could get a better run off turn number 2 and turn number 4, he could pass Kyle, but Kyle Busch, the clean air, it was just simply a great advantage along Kyle Busch having a great car. And then coming out of turn number 4 on the final lap, Kyle Busch adds his name to the list of Brickyard 100 winners, first non-Chevy winner since Bill Elliott in 2002 when he won with Dodge. First Toyota victory at the Brickyard. Now he's won 4 out of the past 5 races. This is his first Sprint Cup Series win at the Brickyard, and because he won the Xfinity race, he completed the sweep. And the thing is, this is his 3rd consecutive victory: Kentucky, New Hampshire, and Indy. 3 different tracks, 3 different rules packages. So to me, what Kyle Busch has proven is that you can give, no matter what car you give him, he will still be very good, and he still knows how to get himself up front and win. I know that a lot of people do not like Kyle Busch, and obviously because Kyle Busch is just flat out winning, I think it definitely gives some NASCAR fans that, oh, I'm so done with NASCAR. You know what I'm saying? So to me, to me, even though I don't like Kyle Busch, many haters are gonna hate. And the thing is, I mentioned that Kyle Busch won 3 in a row. The past several times, or no, not past several. The last several times we had 3 consecutive races won by the same driver. That driver, whether it was Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt, and maybe 2 others, they went on to win the championship. The last time it ever happened was Jimmy Johnson in 2007, and the thing is, it happened at just the right time because it was Martinsville, Atlanta, Texas, and Phoenix. 4 out of the last 5 races on the schedule, and I think Johnson winning 4 races in a row, I think that's what helped it. I think that's what helped him win the 2007 championship. And even though we still have a chase, Kyle Busch, I think that he is, and I think I said last week that Kyle Busch, he's really showing us that Kyle Busch will be someone to be a threat for at the championship. Now, we have seen before about how Kyle Busch, he does have a good regular season, and then once we get to the chase, he struggles. So to me, I think a big question is that since he probably will make the chase based on how well he is running, will Kyle Busch be able to carry that momentum into the chase? We will just have to find out. But I think that once again, another dominating performance. But I gotta say, and this is kind of my message to NBC, I think that NBC needs to not spend every single second or just simply spend huge sections on the Kyle Busch story, because to me, it just seems like NBC and this crew just loves to talk about Kyle Busch and kind of bring up like, will Kyle Busch make the chase? Kyle Busch, yeah, Kyle Busch, he will make the chase. Like, to me, it feels like that's really one of sometimes that's like all I can think about when watching NASCAR on NBC so far. To me, I don't. While it's not necessarily a bad thing, why not talk about like why not talk about someone like Greg Biffle, like or Austin Dillon, Casey Mears, Kyle Larson, drivers that are also trying to make it into the chase that have some big obstacles ahead of them. Like, why not talk about, well, okay, what does Greg Biffle need to improve on? This is how Greg Biffle is going to make the chase. Like for example, like I wish like NBC wouldn't spend as much time talking about Kyle Busch. Like I did not watch the post-race show, but I believe the 30 minutes of the post-race show, because the thing is I could hear it from another room in my house. I felt like that's all. It feels like that's all they talked about, Kyle Busch. And to me, it kind of makes me wonder, like, if Kyle Busch did not break his leg, would this be a story? Chances are, I don't think it really would be. I don't really think it'd be that much of a story at all. But to me, when Fox was covering NASCAR, obviously Kyle Busch was not racing. But to me, even when Kyle Busch came back, it was like Kyle Busch, whether it was a good day or a bad day, Kyle Busch finished well, and that was that. It wasn't like Kyle Busch, commercial break, Kyle Busch, commercial break, Kyle Busch. To me, that's the kind of the vibe I'm getting from NBC, and I kind of wish that NBC would kind of just tone that down. Like, I wish that if I were in charge of the world, I would tell NBC, okay, okay, we get it, Kyle Busch, yes, this is very impressive. I think that it's safe to say that the old Kyle Busch is back. And to me, I feel like that we need to end it there. We need to we need to have a more equal. I think that everyone needs more. I think that everyone needs more of an equal time. And the thing is, it's not just Kyle Busch. Like in this race at the Brickyard, it felt like that. It kind of did feel like that. All they were talking about was Jeff Gordon. Like obviously, Jeff Gordon, a NASCAR legend, final full-time season, final Brickyard 400. This track has meant so much to him, etc. But to me, I just wish that, like, well, okay, Jeff Gordon's won here at the Brickyard. Well, guess what? Johnson has it, and so is Tony Stewart. Harvick has won at the Brickyard. There are other great Brickyard 400 like winners and drivers that I just wonder, well, why are you really spending all this time on Jeff Gordon? But anyway, those are kind of my two things about NBC, is how I feel like that NBC does create some storylines that I think Fox Sports wouldn't exactly have like the enthusiasm to make. But to me, NBC like like NBC.com like creates these stories. NBC TV does not really broadcast these stories. So to me, I think I would like to see NBC do that, and to me, I would like to see NBC tone down on. It's like NBC is trying to make the big stories even bigger. And to me, it's sort of like watching. This might sound kind of random, but to me, it's sort of like watching like this like reality singing competition, and all the judges and coaches say is just like, good job, you are so great, and basically they're like shoving the contestant down our throats. I kind of feel like that's what like NBC is doing. I kind of feel like that's what NBC is doing to people like me. They're just shoving the Kyle Busch story down my throat. And today at the Brickyard, Jeff Gordon's final Brickyard 400 down my throat. That's what kind of felt like to me. But anyway, now my race coverage is done. Now I'm gonna get into the finishing results. Who surprised me? Who disappointed me? Etc. So here is the finishing order. Kyle Busch wins the race. Logano finishes second. Comes so close to getting Roger Penske's first ever Sprint Cup win at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, a track that he's won at 16 times in Indy cars. Kevin Harvick finishes third. Martin Truex Jr. Finally returns to the Martin Truex Jr. Martin Truex Jr. returns back to his top 5, top 10 self after a few not so great weeks. Denny Hamlin 5th, Clint Bowyer 6th. Nice recovery. Matt Kenseth 7th, Kurt Busch 8th, Kyle Larson 9th. That was a good run out of Kyle Larson, especially after the past 3 races. 3 finishes outside the top 30, I believe. Brad Keselowski, Ryan Newman, Ryan Blaney, a solid top 15 for driver that has never made a Sprint Cup start here. Carl Edwards, Paul Menard, Jimmy Johnson, Jamie McMurray, Sam Horseshoe, Chase Elliott, another solid run for never making a start at the Brickyard, and I'll get into Chase Elliott in just a moment. Greg Biffle, Casey Mears, David Reagan, Dale Jr., AJ Allmendinger, Casey Kane, Austin Dillon, Landon Castle, Danica Patrick, Tony Stewart, David Gillen, Michael Annett, Michael McDowell, Matt DiBenedetto, Cole Witt, Brad Moffitt, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Brian Scott, Justin Allgaier, Eric Almirola, DJ Yelly, Trevor Bayne, Timmy Hill, Jeff Gordon, Alex Bowman. So that is the finishing order. Who surprised me? I think the drivers that probably surprised me the most was I actually did not know until just now that Clint Bowyer finished in the 6th position. I did mention Kyle Larson, but to me it was just nice seeing like speed out Kyle Larson that I think I have not seen in the past 2 weeks, but and B overall of the season. Ryan Blaney. For those who didn't watch the Xfinity race, Ryan Blaney actually almost won the he actually almost won that race, and I think that race was his first ever start, but sort of got. Ryan Blaney got held up by Derek Cope, which was a slower car, and then Ryan Blaney got loose off turn number 2. But if those 2 things did not happen, Ryan Blaney would have won. And it to me that kind of made it sad. But to me, I think but I think finishing 12th and having a top 10 car towards the late stages of the race kind of made it up. Chase Elliott, I think that a top 15 for Blaney and a top 20 for Chase Elliott in their first ever Sprint Cup starts at the Brickyard, I kind of feel like that, to me, those are kind of wins for them, in my opinion. And who disappointed me? Number 1, Jeff Gordon. Entering the weekend, based on his performance overall, I did not think that Jeff Gordon was going to win, but to me, this weekend was a really, really big disappointment. For a driver that has won 5 times at the Brickyard, ties Michael Schumacher for most wins ever at this historical speedway, and to kind of start 19th and really just not go anywhere, even before the wreck. That was kind of disappointing. That was kind of disappointing, and who knows? Maybe that team was just a few adjustments away from having a car that could definitely win. Who knows? But to me, overall, it was just kind of a disappointing finish. It was a very disappointing and kind of a very sad way to finish your final Brickyard 400, especially if you're a 5-time winner and the defending Brickyard 400 winner. And to me, the problem with Jeff Gordon is that, like, let me make this comparison between Jeff Gordon and Tony Stewart. Tony Stewart had a great car all day long, top 5, top 10 car. I don't think Tony Stewart was going to win as well. But to me, Tony Stewart, he was running good, and to me, it was bad calls by the crew chief. Jeff Gordon, on the other hand, I think it's a combination of both of them. To me, Gordon, I think, does not have the same competitiveness that he had a season ago, or just simply during the heydays of Jeff Gordon. But to me, Jeff Gordon, he's clear. I think that Gordon is still capable of being competitive and showing a lot of speed. And to me, Gordon is not given that speed. But to me, Gordon's pit crew, I think, is also Gordon's pit crew and his crew chief Alan Gustafson. There was that fight between him and Alan Gustafson at Pocono, but to me, his pit crew has also been, I believe, a pretty slow pit crew as well. And I think his pit crew pushed Gordon out right in front of Jeff Gordon, and that caused damage last week at New Hampshire and practice session. So to me, I think that, like, and to me, one thing I remember reading about is how in 2005, at that point in Jeff Gordon's career, that was his worst career season, and that is currently, as of right now, the only season that Jeff Gordon did not make the chase in the Chase's 11-year history. And the thing is, what happened was that once the chase started, Jeff Gordon's crew chief at the time, which I think his name was Robbie Looms or something like that, ended up getting replaced by Steve Letarte. And I believe once Jeff Gordon had Steve Letarte, it was just overall a much more better performance out of Gordon. And here's my feeling, though: if Jeff Gordon continues to just perform like this, or does not end up making the chase, which I don't think is likely, I think that Jeff Gordon, I think, needs a totally different crew. Not just for the sake of just having better runs, but also kind of for the sake of Chase Elliott, who's going to be driving in that 24 car, and chances are, I think Chase Elliott will probably have Alan Gustafson and probably that pit crew. And if that pit crew does not change during the off season, then to me, unfortunately, there could be races where Chase Elliott finishes kind of poorly because of that. So to me, I hope that changes are made, so Jeff Gordon could possibly have a much better car. So Jeff Gordon could have a better car later in the season. That's what I have to say about that. And overall, other disappointments, I don't really know if there was really anyone. Obviously, I think Tony Stewart. It made me sad. I brought up that. I kind of expected maybe a little bit more of a better run at Jimmy Johnson, and I kind of said the same thing last week as well. But anyway, so that's pretty much it on Indianapolis. Now let's shift our focus to Pocono. So this is the second time we head to Pocono, and last time we were here, early June, Martin Truex Jr. entering the weekend. It was just kind of like, when will Martin Truex Jr. finally get that win that him and his team have been fighting so hard for? He has led the most laps in the past 3 or 4 races entering that weekend. Martin Truex Jr. finally does it. I think Harvick had the better car in that race, though, especially on the longer runs. But Martin Truex Jr. made the move when it counted the most, and Martin Truex Jr. went on to win. That win solidified his spot in the chase. And I think that win also told everyone else in the garage, hey, we can be a team that can contend for championships. And I still feel like that Martin Truex Jr. is still capable of it. And I still think that Martin Truex Jr. is capable of it, even though the finishes the few weeks before today weren't exactly that great. So to me, I think that Martin Truex Jr., even though I normally don't think of Martin Truex Jr. as a driver that can be someone to watch out for, on a week to week basis. I would definitely say keep an eye out for Mark Truex Jr., keep an eye out for Kevin Harvick, and to me, if there's going to be any surprises or in this case like a dark horse, I would say Jamie McMurray. I believe Jamie McMurray almost got a top 5 back in June, and even though Jamie McMurray's average finish is particularly not that great, I still feel like that Jamie McMurray, along with the momentum that he has from just overall a pretty solid season, and I think that McMurray could be a dark horse. And well, well, I think that's um, pretty much kind of all I really have to say. So, um, so anyway, I hope that you enjoyed watching this race review. I know that there's probably going to be something that I forget, and if there's anything that you would like to tell me, please write it down in the comments, and I might respond to it. Be sure to rate, comment, subscribe, and bye. Thank you for watching.